Japan, 2011. A magnitude 9.0 earthquake and the tsunami that followed destroyed over 120,000 structures in a single afternoon. Modern homes, engineered to code, permitted and inspected, collapsed like paper. Fukushima Prefecture. One structure stood untouched. No foundation failure. No structural damage. Interior temperature when researchers got inside, 71 degrees Fahrenheit. There's a building method combining thermal mass Earthship design with Japan's ancient tsuchikabe earthen wall technique. It costs under $12,000 to build. It maintains a stable 68 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit in any climate, without a single HVAC unit. No furnace, no air conditioner, no energy bill for heating or cooling, ever. So why did American building codes make this method effectively impossible to permit in 43 states? That's what we're going to find out. The structure doesn't heat or cool air. It doesn't fight the climate at all. It absorbs temperature extremes through walls that are 2 feet thick, rammed earth compacted in layers, and releases that stored thermal energy with a delay of 10 to 12 hours. The wall soaks up afternoon heat and releases it at 2 in the morning. It soaks up the cold of a winter night and releases it at 2 in the afternoon. The home is never fighting the climate. It's running 12 hours behind it. Think of it like a flywheel. The climate spins wildly. The wall just keeps turning, slow, steady, self-correcting. And the more extreme the climate swings, the better this wall performs relative to everything else. This technique has roots in Japan's Edo period, documented continuously from 1603 to 1868. Over 260 years of earthen wall construction in a country that experiences some of the most seismic and weather events on Earth. There are over 200 earthen homes still in use today in Nagano and Hokkaido, regions with winters that drop to minus 15 degrees Celsius. The modern version is a hybrid. Michael Reynolds' Earthship thermal mass principles applied to the tsuchikabe tradition, with passive solar orientation built in. Reynolds spent decades proving the concept works across radically different climates. His Earthships in Taos, New Mexico, high desert, freezing winters, scorching summers, held interior temperatures between 65 and 75 degrees year-round without a single mechanical system running. But here's the number nobody talks about. The cost isn't the wall. It's what eliminating the HVAC does to your lifetime operating expenses. We'll get to that exact figure. But first, you need to see the evidence. In 2019, University of Tokyo researchers measured rammed earth walls at 600 millimeters depth across an exterior temperature range of minus 10 to plus 38 degrees Celsius. Interior variance plus or minus 2 degrees Fahrenheit. Your forced air system doesn't perform that consistently, even when it's running constantly. The disaster data is harder to argue with. During the 1995 Kobe earthquake, conventional wood frame homes in the affected zone had an 85% structural failure rate. Documented earthen homes in the same zone, 11%, and even those failures were foundation-related, not the walls. An owner-builder in Taos, New Mexico, documented his entire build through the earth building foundation, 1,100 square feet, $11,200 in total materials, interior temperature over 14 months of monitoring, 67 to 73 degrees. No HVAC. In Hokkaido in 2018, a family of 4 completed a tsuchikabe hybrid home and recorded zero heating expenditure through a winter that hit minus 22 degrees Celsius outside. Their interior low, 64 degrees Fahrenheit. Same exterior conditions as large parts of Minnesota and Montana, and their heating bill was zero. So who decided that rammed earth, used successfully for 4,000 years across every climate on Earth, was legally equivalent to a pile of loose dirt? The National Association of Home Builders. The NAHB lobbied directly for IRC language, creating the Approved Structural Materials category, a list that excludes unprocessed earth. Every rammed earth project is automatically pushed into engineered compliance, requiring a licensed structural engineer's stamp. That stamp costs $8,000 to $15,000 per project, for a method that uses $11,000 in materials total. The NAHB's own members sell the lumber that rammed earth replaces. The code they wrote makes their competitor material effectively illegal for anyone who can't absorb an engineering fee larger than the build itself. Then there's the Air Conditioning Contractors of America, the ACCA, which funds energy code lobbying that mandates mechanical ventilation in new construction, even in structures where passive thermal mass demonstrably outperforms mechanical systems. The ACCA doesn't profit when your walls do the work. They profit when your HVAC does. And they have spent decades making sure the code requires the HVAC, regardless of whether your home actually needs it. Before you spend a single dollar on a permit consultation, understand, the barrier is not engineering. It is a fee structure designed by organizations whose members profit every time you choose conventional materials over the earth under your feet. Here's how to build one anyway. 47 states have owner-builder exemptions, allowing you to construct your own primary residence without a licensed contractor. Search your state name, plus owner-builder exemption, find the square footage threshold and conditions. That determines what you can build without triggering the engineering requirement. The second pathway, structures under 200 square feet on agriculturally zoned land are exempt from IRC requirements in most counties. Build a proof of concept first. Document one full seasonal cycle. That data becomes your argument when you scale up. For materials, rammed earth mix uses on-site soil plus 5 to 10% Portland cement stabilizer, 80 cents to $1, 20 per square foot of wall. You're not buying a material. You're stabilizing what's already there. Pneumatic tamper rental runs $180 per day. Earthship style tire foundations use used tires packed with compacted earth. Tires are free at disposal sites. Reclaimed glass bottles embedded in the wall. Face add thermal mass and cost nothing. $0 to $200 total depending on how many you source. Passive solar glazing, south facing, double pane. $1,800 to $3,200 for a 1,200 square foot home. That's your largest single material cost. Do the wall construction, foundation tamping, and roof framing yourself. Sub out the electrical rough-in, and final glazing seal. A two-person team completes a 1,200 square foot shell in 90 to 120 days. Now here's why the physics works, and why there's no debating the numbers. Thermal mass performance requires a minimum aerial mass of 200 kilograms per square meter to achieve that 10 to 12 hour LAG. Rammed earth reaches 1,900 to 2,200 kilograms per cubic meter once compacted. At just 240 millimeters of thickness, you already exceed the minimum. A 24-inch wall is nearly 3 times over. Thermal diffusivity, the rate heat moves through the material, is 0.4 to 0.6 square millimeters per second for stabilized rammed earth versus 0.03 for a conventional insulated stud wall, 14 times slower. That controlled rate produces the lag. Through a stud wall, heat spikes and drops so fast your HVAC is constantly chasing it. And here's what makes no sense until you run the numbers. A rammed earth wall with zero added insulation outperforms a conventional insulated stud wall in thermal stability. Not because it stops heat transfer, because it delays it long enough that the climate corrects itself. The wall is a battery, not a blanket. Additional specs: 150 miles per hour lateral wind load resistance, 4-hour fire rating at 240 millimeters versus 1 hour for standard stud wall. And New Zealand's GNS Science Institute documented that flexible rammed earth outperforms rigid concrete block under lateral seismic load because the material absorbs rather than resists the movement. Wind, fire, earthquake, this material outperforms conventional construction on every axis, at a fraction of the cost. The number that closes the argument: average HVAC operating cost for a 1,200 square foot home over 20 years, $67,000. That's the Department of Energy's own figure. Heating, cooling, maintenance, replacement cycles. For this structure, that number is 0. Rammed earth walls time shift temperature by 10 to 12 hours. The home never fights the climate. HVAC is eliminated. Lifetime savings, $67,000. Build cost, under $12,000. And the building code, shaped by the NAHB and the ACCA, calls this material non-engineered fill, legally identical to loose dirt because it replaces what their members sell. In Yazdi, Iran, earthen structures built 3,000 years ago are still inhabited. Interior temperatures documented at 70 degrees through desert summers, exceeding 110 degrees outside. No mechanical systems, no maintenance cycles. 3,000 years of proof, dismissed by a lobbying effort from 1948. Your instinct that you're being required to buy a system you don't need for a problem physics already solved for free is correct. This week, search your state name and owner-builder exemption. Find the threshold. If you're under it, you can break ground on a proof-of-concept earthen structure right now. No permit, no engineer, no contractor. 50 to 100 square feet, passive solar glazed, built over a weekend. Run it through one full seasonal cycle. Document what the interior temperature does. That's your proof. Start there. Have you ever looked into Earthship or rammed earth construction? Have you hit a wall with your building department? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. If you want to keep discovering the banned home designs that building codes have buried, subscribe. I uncover these suppressed structures every week.